Now seems like a good time to remind you guys that I'm actually like a zombie. This isn't like a cosplay. Actual zombie, not cosplaying Mahito. And if I was, I would definitely take the cosplay off after this week for reasons we can get into. For now, though, hi everybody, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another one of our weekly Jujutsu Kaisen discussion videos. Today we're going to be talking all about episode 12, To You Someday. But for today, why don't you make sure that you go and hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here. And with that said, let's talk about this week's episode. Listen, a lot of it's really hype, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it's also, real sad. And where better to start than with Itadori versus Junpei? I think when it comes to this particular fight, it's funny to me when I think about how much I care. Because normally in most shonen series, it can be a struggle for me to care about a particular fight. You have to build it up well. And I think most shonen series do, but I have seen some where like a fight's happening and I just don't care. Because as cool as it looks, I just don't feel myself engaged with the action. I think the most recent example of that might be God of High School, where, yeah, the fights are cool looking, and Mappa did a great job animating those fights, but there's no substance to it. If I don't care about both characters in the fight, or I at the very least don't care about why they are fighting, then I'm not engaged. It could be a total spectacle, and that's awesome. It can have great action, and that's cool, but a truly great fight to me has to have a reason for me to care about why the two characters are fighting, and I have to care about the story of the fight. I have to understand that the fight goes beyond just look how cool the visuals are and actually digs into something that tells you more about the two characters in the center of the fight. That's how all the best fights should do it. At least in my opinion. Even like the most basic fight of I want to be stronger than this guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like every fight has to have this deep plot. It just needs to have it needs to have a reason for being, and you need to care about both characters involved. If not, it's just an action scene. And when it comes to Itadori versus Junpei, you do care. You immediately care. At least I certainly do. Even just at the beginning of this, when we see that Itadori straight up defied Nanami and Ichichi, gosh, that name, but straight up defied them, and instead, like, they both seemingly knew he was gonna go, but he just like bolts, right? He bolts for the school. He knows that like it's clearly a trap. You know what I mean? I don't know if he necessarily knows, but the others are like, okay, they're clearly doing something, like something's happening. And Itadori just booking it right past Ichichi kind of broke my heart in a weird way. Like, Nanami and Ichichi, like, knowing that, like, okay, if he goes, there's a chance that he might not be the kid we remember. And I think that this whole arc has a lot to say about killing, you know? Like, in shonen series, it's almost sort of like a given, you know? Like, characters are gonna die. But with Jujutsu Kaisen, it's like it wants to have a conversation about it. And watching Nanami and Ichichi like desperately struggle to keep Itadori as just a kid for like a little while longer. Like, eventually he will have to cross that bridge. Eventually somebody's gonna have to die, and he's gonna have to be the one who makes that call. But for now, they don't want him doing that, and I totally get it and respect why. And I think they both probably knew that something could happen, you know? And especially by the time we actually get to Itadori versus Junpei, and by the time they actually square off. And the fight itself is like really dope, I'm not gonna lie. Like, this sort of like jellyfish shikigami thing that Junpei can use is super cool and like really badass. And I love like how just the idea of this jellyfish, like, we see it at the end of last week's episode. I thought it was just sort of like for the audience. I didn't think it was like in universe, but it was. Like the fact that he has like a jellyfish shikigami. But yeah, Junpei can just use that because Mahito actually brought that out of him and sort of taught him how to fight with it. And it's perfectly balanced, as all things should be, to go up against Itadori. The blunt attacks aren't going to work on this particular Shikigami since, you know, he's jelly, right? So every time Itadori punches into this thing, it just sort of like absorbs it. And I can't help but think of All Might. I'm probably going to reference another My Hero moment, but like, all I thought of was just like, you've got your power, your quirk isn't nullification, is just shock absorption, not nullification. And that's what I thought of here, was Itadori going like, well, that's fine. If one punch won't work, how about multiple punches? And he does basically do that. Like, the way that he ends up getting the one-up on Junpei is that he just starts whooping the jellyfish's ass until it bumps into Junpei and knocks Junpei's ass out the window. And then he just cracks Junpei upside the face with like a big punch. And then we get into what I assume people are going to call a talk no jutsu moment. And I certainly hope that they don't. Because while, yeah, the whole talk no jutsu trope is funny, I get why it exists. I think you kind of need a moment, especially for these two characters, to just talk. It would be kind of frustrating if they just kept fighting and then they didn't talk until, you know, one of them was dead. I appreciate that they did try to talk to each other here. And it's soul-crushing hearing the two seiyus at work, Itadori seiyu, Junpei seiyu, absolutely crushing it in this conversation. Especially in a little bit when Itadori just screams. But, like, the moment where Itadori says, like, you're just trying to convince yourself you're right. That is definitely what's happening. And I feel like we've all been there, where, like, you're so pissed and you're so angry and you want a reason to be justified in lashing out in anger. Like, you're looking for a reason to convince yourself that you are right for lashing out. And sometimes you very well might be. But in this case, I think Junpei knows this is wrong, because Junpei's a good kid. Or was. That's still sinking in. That's gonna take me a little bit. He better not be dead. That's all I'm saying. He better not be dead. I'm gonna be pissed and mostly sad. But I do love that, like, Itadori just, like, it has this moment where he's like, just friggin', like, I'm not gonna be a curse to you, okay? Just tell me what's going on. You know, tell me what's been going on with you. And yeah, Itadori just manages to talk Junpei down. And to me, it's a testament that as much as Jujutsu Kaisen wants to be this, like, big badass brawling shonen series, which I am absolutely here for, but it also wants to have some conversations. You know, it wants to talk about these characters. It wants to allow moments to breathe and decompress and talk and actually flesh these characters out beyond just, like, cool badass main character, cool badass side character, edgy side character. You know, like, they actually want to flesh characters like Junpei and Itadori out, and I have to give them credit for that. I think some of my favorite shonen series are the ones that allow characters to just talk their way out of situations. Mind you, sometimes it does get to a point where they just talk their way out of everything, and that could be a little bit boring. But I do think moments like this where Itadori does do the right thing, because I was having this moment of, like, just talk to each other, and Itadori says, like, I'm not going to be a curse to you, just tell me what's going on. And I loved that. And this does lead up to the big moment. And I should stress that, like, Mappa, screw you. Screw you, Mappa. Screw you, you played with my emotions. You tricked me, Mappa. You tricked me, and I'm happy about it. I am a little happy about it, because, my god, the shock was insane, but you tricked me. You lied to me. The fact that they showed in the opening, Itadori and Junpei together, you know, and I've seen people say, like, I've seen people say that Mappa didn't have the right to do that. like jokingly, you know, like, I've seen people jokingly say, like, that was cold of Mappa, or, like, Mappa didn't have the right to do that. And I was like, what does that mean? Like, do they mean that, like, it's spoilers? Now I realize that they were joking and they were talking about this. And yeah, I'm really messed up. Like, Itadori talking, like, finding out about Junpei's mom and being upset and telling Junpei, like, listen, man, like, come with me. There's a school with great teachers. They can teach you about this thing. We can find whoever cursed you and your mom. We can get them. We can get them back for this. But you have to come with me. Like, you have to be okay to come with me. And you know he's thinking about it. Like, that's what kills me, is you know Junpei's a good kid and he's thinking about it. And it just breaks my heart that this good kid gets used the way he does, and what ultimately happens. And I call this the big moment, because this is like I think the big moment that people were looking forward to this arc, because a lot of people said, like, when it happens you'll know, and I assumed this was the moment because my jaw hit the ground. And thank God I was not spoiled for this. I was so certain that I will say I do know what happens to another character, and I kind of had a feeling that something was going to happen to Junpei, but I didn't expect this. Like, the way that Junpei goes out is brutal, especially after the fact that you get that one last flash of what could have been. Like, that... am I gonna cry? I'm like, really? Oh, wow, okay. It's been a hot minute since I last got emotional on mic, but, like, that last moment was, like, where you see Junpei say, like, Yuji, why? And you see Itadori, like, thinking about how they could have been, like, this quartet. Bro, nope, not gonna cry. Nope. Just... he better not be dead. That's all I'm gonna say. If he's dead, I'm gonna be really upset. He better not be dead. My boy deserved better. Junpei deserved so much better. And, you better be okay. I mean, I don't know how one becomes okay from that. We could talk about what happened now. And I'm gonna use this screenshot where friggin' Mahito and Sukuna are laughing. The absolute evil bastards. But... yeah, this was, like, soul-crushing. This episode was soul-crushing, and it was hype at the same time, which is very confusing. But yeah, it was... I don't even know where to begin. Like, this whole episode. As I said, like, I'm pretty... like, I'm doing okay. There's been character deaths in anime that have shooketh me to my core a little harder, but this one did really shake me. You know, like, I was not prepared for it to go down like this. The fact that he gets transformed by Mahito, and Mahito even tells him, like, you're just as much of a fool as the people you call fools. Like Mahito, like, reveals, like, nah, dude, it was me the whole time, dumbass. Like him, like, insulting Junpei as he makes him transform, and then makes him fight Itadori, like... oh, man. And then Itadori being like, Sukuna, you've got to help me. And I'm thinking, like, okay, he'll help, right? Like we're going to save him, right? And Sukuna's like, I refuse. And I'm like, bitch, no, you do not. No, you better not. Right? And then even Mahito's like, okay. I didn't see that one coming. Like, Mahito being like, all right, that's surprising. Okay, weird. But I guess it doesn't matter as long as he eventually gets, you know, as long as he eventually... switches places with Itadori, and I can get him to join sides with us. That's the main thing. And I'm like, Mahito, you evil prick, right? I'm just thinking, like, this is so cruel. And then the shot of the two of them laughing at Itadori as he has Junpei in his arm, and he's trying to get him to stop hitting him. And then I don't know what the hell happens. Like, I don't know if Itadori, like, breaks his neck or something. I don't know. Like, I think maybe Junpei just dies from the pain. I don't really understand what the hell happened there. I really hope it wasn't Itadori who killed Junpei. But, Junpei supposedly dies. Again, I'm saying supposedly because, like, I don't want that to be my boy's final moments, but, like, Junpei supposedly dies a monster, asking Itadori why, and we get the one last flash of what could have been. And this is probably the most... it's funny, because we've seen people, like, ignite into flame in what I thought was one of the most cruel moments I have ever seen, and this is somehow more cruel. And I've seen people say that this show has consequences, and that is very true. Like, this episode really... I don't know if you could tell, because I'm not as, like, wacky, hyper, and, like, energetic, you know? Like, I'm a little shaken up. Like, this episode really... I was like, that is cruel. Like, the fact that they're both laughing at him as Junpei supposedly dies as a monster. Yeah, that was cruel, man. That was messed up. That was really messed up. But it leads to what is easily the most satisfying punch I have ever seen. Okay, well, maybe the most satisfying punch I've ever seen is a bit of a stretch, but it was easily the most satisfying punch of the year, or at the very least, since back in early January when Deku dropped Overhaul. Like, that was, like, easily the most satisfying punch since that moment. And that's another villain who absolutely deserved a beatdown. And Mahito absolutely deserved that punch in the face and the fight that erupts. To me, again, as a shonen, a shonen fanboy, as an absolute, like, shonen loon, I must stress that, like, all I could think of was, it's like watching Ultimate Cars fight Broly. That's sort of what I was reminded of. Because Itadori just loses his mind. And I can't show you, I don't know what screenshot I'm going to use. Because, like, this fight is brutal. Like, this is a brutal fight. And there's one scene in particular with the headbutts from hell that I literally can't show you because YouTube might give me grief. And listen, YouTube's been a much better platform recently. But I'm still not going to test waters with that. They've been good to me. I am not going to test the waters. I'm not going to show anything that could potentially get me in trouble. So, yeah, I don't know what the hell I'm going to show. But, like, Itadori headbutting the absolute hell out of Mahito. Mahito going, like, ultimate cars, like growing the wings and, like, turning into, like, sharp objects that he can use to, like, stab into Itadori during the fight. Like, it's nuts. And we see both characters get, like, the upper hand at several points. And, like, Mahito even says, like, did he really have to be my perfect match? Like, did he really have to be perfect to face me? Like, did it really have to be this? Because Itadori makes him bleed, you know? If it can bleed, it can die. That's all I thought of, was, like, if it bleeds, it can die. And, yeah, like, he makes him bleed. And he tries to, what kills me is the moment where he tries to touch, he tries to get in contact with Itadori's soul, but, or maybe he was trying to get in contact with Sukuna, I don't know, but this moment right here, know your place, fool. Like, god damn. Listen, Sukuna, there's a reason why we nominated him for Antagonist of the Year. And there's a reason why people are voting for him as Antagonist of the Year in the Kotatsu Annie Awards. By the way, if you haven't voted, you should do that. I will try to link up, leave a link in the pinned comment if you haven't seen it, or if you haven't voted in the Kotatsu Annie Awards yet. I recommend doing that. There'll be, hopefully a link in the pinned comment. If there's not, pester me about it. I always forget, so pester me. But yeah, there's that line from Sukuna is so dope. Because, and I love that something about that moment rocks Mahito, where it gives Itadori the chance to give him the headbutts from hell, and it buys just enough time for Nanami to arrive, which thank God. And he gets a handle on things pretty quick. Like, he pretty quickly is like, okay, so that happened, this happened, that happened, okay. Like, he realizes, like, okay, he's bleeding, why is he bleeding? And Itadori's like, oh, I punched him in the face. And he's like, okay, did he try to touch you? And he's like, yeah, he like reached out to me at one point. Why? And he's like, okay, I can't hurt him, but you can. And just as they're about to have a duo fight, the friggin' ED starts to play. And this show, man, like, I've seen some people say some things to me that I just disagree with, right? One of them inherently is binge watching. I despise binge watching. I can't, and that's a me problem. That's not a you problem. If you like to binge watch shows, I do think it's a little weird, but it's a problem with me because I can't do that. I feel like I just can't sit still. I feel like I'm wasting the day. I can't binge watch shows. I like to consume my media a week at a time. That to me is more my speed because it stretches it out. It's in my life longer. And I feel like it hits harder because I'm thinking and anticipating what's going to happen next week, you know, instead of just binge watching it all at once. That said, if there was ever an excuse, if there was ever a show that would make me doubt that, it's Jujutsu Kaisen, because every episode flies by. Every episode feels like 5 minutes, and I'm always left going like, I would watch more. at any time. Every single episode I could watch more, and this was certainly one of them. I can't wait for next week. Again, prayer circle for Junpei. And if you know what happens to Junpei, if you're a manga fan and you know like if that he's okay, or you know that he's not okay, don't say anything. Just do your typical. You know what I love to see from you guys. Just do the asterisks, laughs in manga asterisks. You know I love that shit. Just do the laughs in manga. That's the other manga fans will know what you're talking about. I will have no idea, and us other anime onlys will have no idea. Just do that. Just do that. That's probably the safer option. But yeah, with that said, everybody, that is going to wrap up today's video here. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, and let all of AniTube know that you're here. We're trying to reach 25K before the end of the year. It's going to be close. So hopefully, you know, if you have anybody who you know should be watching the channel, if you have any seasonal anime fans who you think might be interested, go ahead and share the channel with them. Let's try and get to 25K before the end of the year. That's been the goal. We're super close, but we're running out of time. So, you know, if you can help out, I'd appreciate it, because it's going to be close. And of course, before we go, as always, I want to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names, and hey, if you would like to join these beautiful people, there are now 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that Patreon link in the description, and the second is by hitting that join button right beside the sub button to get a badge next to your name, some emotes to use in the comments, and of course, your name scrolling past the screen here. So, if that sounds cool to you, go ahead and hit that join button, or check out the Patreon link. Either way, it is super appreciated. With that said, everybody, my friends, once again, prayer circle for our boy, Junpei. He better be okay. I'm gonna be so sad if he's not okay. But, until next time, you stay classy, AniTube, and you wash your dang hands.